Michael Moore, thanks for joining me on UpFront. We have an election right now that's about to take place in which on one side you have Hillary Clinton, a former Secretary of State, a former senator, going up against a guy, Donald Trump, the Republican candidate, who said outrageous things about Muslims, Mexicans, women, the disabled, veterans, African Americans. He's accused of sexual assault. He's openly ignorant about foreign affairs. Why is this race still so close?
Exactly. Well, I've lived here as an American all my life, so I know the country I live in. This is a nation that twice elected a B actor whose co-star was a chimpanzee.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. The state of Minnesota once elected a professional wrestler as a governor. So, you know, we live in an interesting country, and sadly, though, Trump is the embodiment of just about every bad trait you could come up with. It's like if you went to Dr. Frankenstein last year and said, "Hey, give me a creature that embodies all the worst traits of men, white people, and rich people, and put them all in one guy, and we're gonna run him as a candidate." Thus, you have Donald J. Trump.
Your new movie, Michael Moore in Trumpland, why did you make it? What was the point, given we seem to live in a post-truth political age, where especially to Trump voters who think Barack Obama is a secret Kenyan or Hillary Clinton has body doubles, to them facts don't matter anymore. Evidence doesn't seem to matter. You can't seem to get through to them, can you?
Well, that's why I decided not to give them a fact-based movie. Now, there are in this movie a few gently disguised facts that I sort of, slip in there. But no, this is more, I decided to give them a comedy show, basically. And I perform a one-man show for them and get them laughing about themselves and Trump. And maybe you see in the process of this hour, they realize that, yeah, it is kind of ridiculous, isn't it, to vote for this guy? At least some of them feel that way.
As you say, you try and use humor. You try not to attack Trump voters, but try and understand their rage. You call it righteous anger, justifiable anger, the idea of losing jobs, having factories outsourced, stagnating wages. It's a common argument that's used to explain the rise of Trump, but many would say the evidence doesn't support that view. Studies show that Trump voters on average have higher incomes than Clinton voters. They have higher incomes than the average American. They don't tend to live in areas that have been hit hard by free trade or outsourcing or low-skilled immigrants. The studies, Michael, seem to show that they're driven more by racial resentment, by anti-minority sentiment, than by economic insecurity.
I think that probably is true for half or even the majority of them, but not all of them. And I'm not trying to reach the majority. Those who are motivated by their racism are lost. And I don't know if they can be convinced of anything by Tuesday. But there is, I think most people would agree, 20, 30% maybe of his support that are not people, they're not racist, they are people who have suffered through hard times and are mad at the system. And I know, I live in Michigan, so I live amongst them. I listen to them every day in the diner, the coffee shop, on the street, nonstop. And they are angry.
And do you think the Democratic presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton, is the right candidate? Was she the right person for the Democrats to put up to win over those angry people? During the Bill Clinton presidency, for example, when welfare reform was enacted, when extreme poverty went up, when the NAFTA free trade treaty was signed, a lot of those people are the kind of people you're talking about who felt left behind, who felt angry. Hillary Clinton's husband was president for 2 terms when that happened. She backed his policies. How is she, therefore, the solution to Trump or to Trumpism today?
Well, first of all, I have a couple things to say about that. The best candidate to run against Trump was called Bernie Sanders. So that's who I supported. And I think this wouldn't be so close and we wouldn't be so nervous were he the candidate. But he didn't win. And this is the candidate we have. So, as Don Rumsfeld once famously said, you go into battle with the army that you have. And this is who we have. Having said that, I don't know if she is that same Mrs. Bill Clinton that you described, supporting all those policies of his. In fact, a couple times this year, she's thrown him under the bus for what he did in the 90s. I think, and I hope that she is a different person. She says she is. She's adopted 2/3 of Bernie's platform.
You say you hope she's a different person, and you say, is she the person that she was in the 90s that I described? But it's not just about the 90s. One of her best-known critics said earlier this year that she's Wall Street's paid candidate.
I think I said that.
I think you did. It was you. So how did it
was
change?
me.
It was you. I'm quoting you. Good, you know your own quote. So
yeah,
earlier this year,
like
Michael, earlier this year
Yes.
you were saying she was Wall Street's paid candidate. In the space of a few months, she can't suddenly stop being Wall Street's paid candidate.
Well, she said that she's going to do some things, that she agrees with Bernie, that she's going to do some things to put controls on them.
But saying, Michael, is different to doing, isn't it? We know from her emails that she holds different positions in private than she holds in public. She's a politician. Yes.
She's a politician. Right. So what else do we have to go on? I'm not on the ballot. If it was me, I could sit here and tell you what I'm going to do, and you could choose to believe me or not believe me. But this is what we have to work with here.
Okay. Well,
so I have no choice at this point, especially considering who the other candidate is, but to believe that she's going to follow through on her word. And if she doesn't, as I've said in my movie, I'm going to be her worst nightmare, as are millions of other people who voted for Bernie Sanders. The revolution isn't going away.
You're going to hold her to account.
We're going to be there the day after. Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely. We're not going to do like we did with Obama. Remember, with Obama, we voted for him. He got in. We were, this is so great. And then within a month, he appointed Timothy Geithner as the Treasury Secretary, Wall Street guy. Yeah. Larry Summers as the head of his economic policy. And it was like, whoa. But we didn't stay active. We didn't stay on him. And we let 2 years go by.
One of the areas which a lot of progressive people on the left are very concerned about when it comes to Hillary Clinton is foreign policy. You have rightly said that women tend to be less hawkish in office, less likely to shoot things up, less likely to drop bombs. That's what the studies show. You've also conceded there are notable exceptions to that rule. Margaret Thatcher in the UK comes to mind. Why do you think Hillary Clinton, given Iraq, given Libya, given her positions on Syria, on Israel, on Russia, why would she be an exception to that rule?
Yeah, she supports right now, I think the United States is bombing 7 different countries right now. And she supports every single one of those efforts. In fact, she doesn't think Obama's gone far enough on some of them, like with Syria. She wants to enforce a no-fly zone. Yep. And no, listen, I go into this with eyes wide open. I believe that there is a better chance than not of Hillary Clinton getting us into a war. But there is a far greater chance of a different kind of war with Donald J. Trump. So we, the American voters, are being asked to choose which war do you want? A Hillary Clinton war or a Donald J. Trump war?
Slavoj Žižek, the Slovenian philosopher, I'm sure you know him, has said in an interview this week that someone like him, if he could vote in the American election, he'd vote for Trump because Trump will shake things up. Hillary Clinton is the status quo candidate. What do you say to people on the left who say that kind of thing? So there's a fair few of them who say that.
I understand how pleasurable it is to be an anarchist. And Trump is actually presenting himself as an anarchist because he's actually used those words, I will blow up the system. And there are people who believe, you know what, maybe that's what we need. Let's blow it up and rebuild it. But you don't want your chief builder, who's going to be rebuilding it, to be Donald J. Trump. So I don't take that position. And I think I don't want to take that risk. It's too dangerous. To let Trump blow it up.
If we wake up next Wednesday morning and Donald Trump has been elected 45th President of the United States, what's your advice? Civil disobedience, seek asylum in Canada, run for the hills?
Oh no, there's no running away. And don't put this on the Canadians either. They are so nervous up in Canada. Somebody just told me my movie's #1 up there right now. And I said, yeah, of course it is, because they're all like, no. They do not want us coming up there and bringing our guns with us. No, you can't leave the country. If this sad thing happens, we're all going to have to stay here and fight. And we'll all be in the French resistance. And we're all going to have to act like the tanks are 20 miles outside of Paris. That's basically where we're going to be. Non-violently fight.
Michael Moore, thanks for joining me on UpFront.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love your show. Appreciate it.